Good morning. I'm Don, and I'm an alcoholic. And what we're going to do here today is we're going to go over steps 10 and 11. And if you're not waking up in the morning and asking God to direct your thinking, especially that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, and self-seeking motives, you're not in AA. That's for sure. Because if God's not directing your thinking, that means you're directing your thinking and you haven't turned your will over. And I'm not making this up. It says right here on page 86, on awakening. On awakening, let us think about the next 24 hours ahead. So what I do is on awakening, and this isn't when my eyes open, this isn't when after I get my coffee, this isn't, after I've done a bunch of errands. What I do when I wake up in the morning, that means my mind's eye. When my mind's eye opens up, when I hit consciousness, that's when my thoughts start running. I immediately ask God to direct my thinking that it be divorced from self-pity, dishonesty, and self-seeking motives. And then it says here, then what I do is I open up my book to page 86. And on page 86, it says, on awakening, let us think about the next 24 hours ahead. We consider our plans for the day. So I ask God to direct my thinking, and then I start thinking about what are my plans going to be for the day. Am I going to go to a meeting? How am I going to help others? And then I usually turn to page 83, since I have it memorized, but I do open my book every morning. And it says right here on page 83, we ask God in the morning to show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. And then I start thinking about my day intertwined with patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. And then it says when God's directing our thinking, we can employ our brains with assurance. And that's what I do. I believe God's directed my thinking. And He is. Because the results, the answers will come if your own house is in order. We got to try this for a while. So what I do is I ask God to direct my thinking immediately when I wake up, when my mind's eye opens up. Then what I do is I sit there and I think about my day. That's called meditation. Meditation is just thinking about your day. You don't have to complicate it. You don't have to say, well, I don't know how to meditate. You just think about your day. It's that simple. It says on page 62, we're agents of God. We have a new employer, and the ideas are simple, So we do this for a while. We wake up. God, please direct my thinking. Think about our day. What are we going to do? And you come up with some ideas. And then it says we conclude this period of meditation with a prayer. So what I do is I open my book to page 99 and the 12 and 12, which I don't use the 12 and 12 at all. I only use one page out of the 12 and 12 because 12 and 12 just explains to you what could possibly happen to you after you do the steps. But everybody has their own experiences. And this says, members recover on how the society functions. Co-founders tells how members recover from this. So he's just kind of telling, Bill Wilson just kind of wrote this book, expanding on what he thought needed to be expanded on in 1952, which I don't know why he didn't even get this book right, but anyway, he doesn't even know his own steps. Okay, Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant me Grant that I may seek rather than to comfort than to be comforted, to understand rather than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds, it is forgiveness that one is forgiven. It is by dying one awakens to eternal life. And that's a good prayer. I say that because it says right here on page 87, we conclude this period of prayer with a meditation. We conclude this period of meditation with prayer, which means it doesn't say wake up in the morning and pray. It says we ask God to direct our thinking. Then we start to meditate. Then we say a prayer. Also on page 87, it says, we say a prayer where others will be helped. That means we don't pray for yachts. We don't pray for cars. We don't pray for jobs. We don't pray for relationships. We pray a selfless prayer. I know that's hard for a lot of you people. And then it says if circumstances warrant, you can do this with a significant other or a friend, and you can, in the morning, somebody comes over for coffee, they can join you in meditation. It says we memorize a few select prayers. Now I've memorized the 3rd and the 7th step prayer because it says that emphasize the principles we have been discussing. So then I say, God, I offer myself to thee to build with thee and do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of bondage of self, I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I'd help. Thy power, thy love, thy way of life, may I do thy will always. I also have the 7th step prayer memorized. My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you take away every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and to my fellows. Grant me the strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. So I can say these prayers throughout the day. Whenever, the 7th step prayer, I don't know if I get envious. I see somebody, I'm busting my ass and, they're driving around in a Mercedes because they got an inheritance. Okay? My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. So I say the 7th step prayer. That doesn't happen because it doesn't happen. I'm content at where I am in life. But I used to get envious, which used to cause me to get angry and resentful. And since I do this, work a program of Alcoholics Anonymous, this doesn't happen. If it crops up, I immediately say the 7th step prayer. But I haven't had anything like that crop up in a while. Then, on page 88, it reminds me I'm not running the show. And it says if we've done these steps, this 11th step, then what happens is we're less likely to make foolish decisions throughout the day. We're less likely to let our mind run through resentments. That person did this to me, and then I'm going to do that to them. And if they do this, and I should have said that, is all a waste of time. That's the devil making you irritable, restless, and discontented. If there's an agent of Satan, there's agents of God. In this book, on page 62, says we're agents of God. We have a new employer. Our job is to carry this message. Then, after I'm said my prayers and directed my thinking and, I'm spiritually fit. I feel good right now. I can look the world in the eye. I've been up. I've said my prayers. Now, I'm going out into the world. Eventually, I'm going to take a shower and I got to go to work. So it says, what do we do when we go out in the world? Step 10. We continuously take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. How do we do that? Page 84. We look for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear throughout the day. When this crops up, what we do is we ask God to remove it, and then we think, how can we help others? So I think about somebody I'm sponsoring, or I'm thinking about, how can I better carry this message? How could I be more useful? And this takes my mind off of whatever is going on, because it will crop up. You're going to step on somebody's toes, they're going to retaliate, and And what we do is we see where we played our part is wrong, we make an apology. And then, because we don't want, the little things kill us. It's the little things that kill us. It's not the big things. We let these little things add up. Oh, this person did this, then they did that, then they did this. My mother this somebody that. And all of a sudden, we're full of resentment and we're blocked by the sunlight of the Spirit again. Just what we did to clear all the wreckage of our past. Now we let it build up again. Now we're blocked again. Now we're not drinking and we're irritable, restless, and discontented. And that's why a lot of people don't follow through with 10 and 11. And it says we hit a low spot. We have a bad day. AA doesn't work for me. I'm not a millionaire. I didn't get all these things I wanted out of life. My wife left me. She took the kids. And I'm not getting what I want out of life, and this makes us irritable, restless, discontented, and then we say, you know what? Let me go have a few Jack Daniels to think this over. And you're back at AA having a pity party. AA didn't work for me, but you never did AA. So. And it says we cease fighting everyone and everything, even alcohol. And the reason we have to stop fighting everything and everyone is because this frees our mind. If we're fighting in our mind, we're done. We're resentful. We're watching the news. These people are doing everything wrong. We don't know what's good. We don't know what's bad. So we don't know. Nobody knows. When I mean nobody, I mean the chief economists of such and such, of Yale, Harvard, whatever. They don't know exactly, maybe a tariff's good, maybe a tariff's bad. We don't know. So for me to even try to wrap my head around all this when I'm an alcoholic doesn't make any sense. So I use, when to cease fighting everything and everyone, what I use for that is there was a guy and he loved his son. And what he did was he was a blacksmith and he was working in his blacksmith shop and you got to use fire and his whole thing burned down. His whole business burned to the ground. Now he can't feed his son. So what he has to do is he has to take a job as a sharecropper. So he tells some people, my business burned down, I'm going to take a job. And they're going, oh, this is so bad. You love your son so much, and now you've lost everything. And the wise old man says, this could be good, this could be bad. Common sense tells you if your business burns to the ground, it's a bad thing. Now, he goes and he takes his job as a sharecropper, and his horse dies. And everybody's, this is the worst thing that ever happened, your horse dies. So common sense would tell you your horse dying would be a bad thing. So he sends his son out to look for a Mustang. He finds a Mustang, he brings it back, and 100 other Mustangs follow him back. So now guess what? He's the richest man. And all the villagers are going, this is the greatest thing, you're the richest man in the world, this is a good. Common sense would tell you, if you're the richest man, this is a good thing, right? So what happens is, his son goes out, and he's on his horse, and his son gets thrown by one of these Mustangs, and he breaks his back. Now he can't work the land, his son is crippled, and everybody, this is a bad thing. If your son gets crippled, you would think that's a bad thing. Common sense would only tell you this. Now what happens is, a bunch of soldiers come through the village, and they're looking for young men to go fight this battle. So all the young men that got taken to this battle get slaughtered and killed. His son is crippled, but he's alive. So through all these circumstances of events, if his business hadn't burned down, if this and that hadn't happened, then, his son would be dead. So we don't know what's good, we don't know what's bad. But we think we do. And if you look back in your own life, you say, oh, shoot. When I met her, it was a good thing. All of a sudden, 10 years later, it's a bad thing. So we don't know what's good, we don't know what's bad. So I don't question things because I do the third step. I offer myself to thee. Then it says, by this time, the problem has been removed and insanity has been returned. So at this time, we have a little sanity by the time we get to step 10. Then it says down here, we develop a sixth sense. A sixth sense is God starts pulling you into a direction. Like, maybe I should do these steps. Maybe I should start, helping others. Maybe, I should apply for a job over there. Maybe I should ask that person out. We don't know, but God will start pulling us into a direction and everything will become clear. Then what I do, if you're working the program Alcoholics Anonymous, as is suggested, and not only does it say suggested, it says valuable suggestions. So it says when we retire at night, we constructively review our day. Were we resentful? So then I think in my mind, was I resentful today? You know what? There was a guy, and I drive a truck. I drive a semi, actually. And there was a guy in the dock, and I was waiting on the dock, and I'm under, I got to get things done in a timely manner. And I go in to see, when is this guy going to come out? And he goes, oh, he's back there, he's ordering lunch. So he leaves his truck. So automatically I get resentful. So I ask God to remove this, and, and I go back out to my truck. And by the time I get to my truck, the guy pulls away. So, but it cropped up. So I asked God to remove it. And if he would have stayed there, I would have said the 7-step prayer. This isn't the end of the world. Whatever comes up, I deal with it. But I don't get myself all worked up. I'm not, if I saw him, I might have said, man, I'm kind of in a hurry. I'm sure most truck, he would have just said, okay, I'll pull out. So, but things crop up during the day. You get my point. Was I selfish? Yeah, always selfish. Always. No matter what happens, I'm always out for me. But what I do is I try to put that on hold, so I can be useful to him and to my fellows. Because I'm like a 2-year-old. I want all these 7 deadly sins. I want to be greedy. I want to be lustful. I want to be gluttonous. I want this. I want loans, money, everything. But, through the 7-step prayer, our job is to be off of 77 is fit for maximum service. That's it, to carry this message. Was I dishonest? Always dishonest. Always. To some degree. To some degree. Was I afraid? I'm always afraid. Afraid of dying. Afraid of this. But, I know the difference between a healthy fear, which is a fear I don't walk out in front of traffic, and a fear of, oh my God, I hope this doesn't happen, or I hope I don't get, in 2 years, I hope I don't get sick and I can't do my job. What if, I'm a truck driver. What if I get diabetes? I could go on and on all day long, every day, of pity parties and work myself up into fear. And then through my experience, I get anxiety. And through anxiety, I decide, you know what? I know the cure for anxiety. Call Jack Daniels. And that ends me up in jail again. Or somewhere, or jobless, homeless, whatever. You know the drill. So, we'll be kind and loving to all. I make it a point to be kind and loving to all. Somebody asks me for $1, I just give it to them. $2, you want a cigarette? Whatever. What's yours is mine. To a point, I'm not going to give away everything because I still have to be useful to people. There's a lot of ways that you can be useful. I'm not going to give my car away to somebody, because I needed to get to meetings. Do we pack everything we could into the stream of life? I answer these questions. Then at the end of this, I ask God for forgiveness. Why do I ask God? Because I'm always going to be resentful, selfish, dishonest, and afraid during the day. And that's what I'm looking for, throughout the day. And so what I do is I can say, God, please forgive me. And then I inquire about what corrective measures could be taken. Actually, on this, I have a nightly review part, which she either calls me or I call her. We answer these questions together. And another thing is, it says, if we let up on this program of action and rest on our laurels. So what I just did this morning is I do it every morning. It takes about a half an hour, and I go over things. I just, in my mind, and if I always, I'll watch, some sort of a spiritual speaker on TV, or I'll read the Bible, or I'll read the daily meditations, or I'll go wherever God leads me through because he's directed my thinking. And it says if we rest on this, if we stop doing what we're doing, like we don't wake up in the morning and ask God to direct our thinking, we stop helping others, we stop looking for selfishness, dishonesty, and fear throughout the day, we're headed for trouble. Because this is our sobriety is contingent on the maintenance. Everybody, maintenance, that means you're just plateauing. No, over here it says our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. So we're growing in understanding. We're just maintaining what we're doing. See, people get this all twisted. I mean, you hear all this nonsense in meetings that's so ridiculous. So after you do all steps 1 through 9, which is first step, is a yes or no question. The steps should take you about 2 hours. I'll leave to do the first 11, and people are like, well, 2 hours, you can't do. Well, if somebody's got their list, you can do it in 2 hours. So it says we practice this for a lifetime. Then you say, well, now here's a question for you. Why can't you do a 9th step until you've started on 10 and 11? Says it right here in the book. As we clean up the past, we vigorously work this step so we don't make any new mistakes. So we're cleaning up our past, and then we're being careful not to make any new mistakes. How do we do that? We look for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear throughout the day, and when we're wrong, we apologize. Then it says, our next function is to grow. So once you get down to 9, you drop right into 10, because it says this thought brings us to step 10. Here's another reason why you can't make an amends until you've been doing 10 and 11 for a while, or at least asking God to direct your thinking, because it says here, this puts our thinking, our thought life will be placed on a much higher plane. It'll be cleared of wrong motives. Everybody always wants to make an amends with the wrong motive. What do I mean by that? Oh, my greatest enabler is my father. So every time I get sober for 15 minutes, I have to go and apologize to him and tell him I'm sorry, because maybe he can do something for us. Supply us with housing, supply us with money, supply us with, a way to... So our motives aren't pure. Your motives are pure, you'll know it. And God will lead you into that direction to make that amends. So that's kind of how I see steps 10 and 11 should be done every morning. And if you're not doing this, you're not doing AA. Don't even waste your time going to an AA meeting and say, I'm working on this program. I'm working the steps, but you haven't done a nightly review for 6 years. Don't go, and all you're doing is carrying the mess. Don't go and say, these steps take a couple of hours to go through. They're easy. Easy. 1, you admit you're an alcoholic. 2, you believe a power greater than yourself can restore you to sanity. Came to believe that a power, yeah. Yeah, it's a yes or no. 3, third step prayer. 4, make a list. 5, discuss it with somebody. 6, remove everything that's objectionable. 7, say the 7-step prayer. 8, 9, and now you know what to do on 10 and 11, and you intensively work with other people. That means there's a picture of Bill Wilson, Dr. Bob, and Bill Dotson. That's intensive work with other alcoholics, not just, here's my phone number. I'll give you a ride to rehab, so they can tell you to come back to AA and do the steps. What kind of sense does that make? Then you come to, so it's ridiculous. So unless somebody is in need of a medical detox, there's no reason to take them to rehab. You're wasting their time. And you're wasting taxpayer dollars possibly, or insurance costs, or everything else to send them to get a $100,000 big book. Okay, peace out.